Welcome to another Censorless podcast brought to you by our sister company Ogre, a gaming apparel and accessory store made by gamers for gamers. Come check out some of our sweet shirts that you can put on while making the other team tilt into oblivion. Today we have, yet again, Mark the Red Raccoon Lee with us, lover of memes and memeries he makes with his memes. Matt Meatball Conley, the architect of Censorless and our technical guru. So blame him if things go bad. And yours truly, Russ Pigeon Poop Ingle, owner of various pots for which I cook things in. Welcome to the show, fellas.
Hey, welcome.
No. By the way, do you throw those pots and break them like Link?
I do. Like, so every one of them, because there may be like a gold gem in it.
You break them
you never know.
You raid them.
Our bill for kitchen utensils is basically an electric bill a month.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So today we're going to be mainly talking about toxicity and competitive gaming, but we're also going to touch on recent abhorrent behavior in esports world, like some players that have been banned, some streamers that have been banned, stuff like that. And we are also going to talk about the state of the League of Legends, because guess what? This week's finals, baby. 2 new people. The old guard is dead. Long live the new kings. And so with that said, how are you guys doing?
Absolutely fantastic, man. So let's get into the toxicity thing. So when do you guys feel like, is it ever okay to say GG easy whenever you beat somebody?
Every time. So this is how I gauge it. If anything is said to me at all, then it's free game. Like if they're like, hi, my name's Paul, I'm like, GG easy, motherfucker. Smell my toes.
You do that in real world. Someone comes up to you and they're just like, hi, my name is Paul. And you're like, GG easy. It's like a tick that you have.
No. I think like it's all fun and games until someone like commits suicide.
Oh my God, that went to a dark place really quick. Jesus Christ. Holy shit.
I apologize, but that is a serious problem.
Wow. I think it's okay to say it in a couple different situations, but then you should never say it when you win, like easily. Like if you're crushing the other team, you should never say GG easy. But I feel like if you lose and you say GG easy, totally fine. And if it's a
so if it's sarcastic in intent, then it's okay.
Yeah, and if it's a very close game and you just kind of say GG easy in a sarcastic way because it was a hard-fought battle, I think that's fine as well. But I mean, kicking someone when they're down and saying GG, stopping them is not.
So honestly, the way that I approach it is I never say anything negative unless like someone else is going out of their way to be negative and like making my life miserable. Then I come up with creative things because I think those people are generally like retarded anyway. So like whenever you do that, you basically are you're making it frustrating for them to live and be who they are.
Yeah.
So I like your mom jokes. I think they're effective.
Yeah, especially whenever you do like 27 of them in tandem at the end of a losing match, right? That's the best practice, right?
Well, because, like everything, the spice of life is with repetition.
Of course. I mean, but let's be real. People say GG easy because it tilts the other person, and they want to tilt the other person, whether that be during the match, after the match, whatever it is. It's competitive in nature, and we're all tribal competitive creatures, so we want to make other people feel bad whenever they're down. Whether or not you individually want to do that, we as humans do enjoy that kind of behavior because, I mean, who else, I mean, what other kind of species would sit there and watch hours and hours of videos on YouTube about people getting freaking hurt? Like, watching people like jump off buildings and shit like that. Humans love that shit.
Yeah, meerkats.
Humans love that shit, and meerkats. They also love that shit. But like, I think it all comes down to like, if someone's trying to tilt you, you got to figure out how to be tilt proof. And how do you guys, whenever people do that, or if they're in the middle of the game or someone is intentionally trying to tilt you, how do you guys maintain your tilt proofness?
I mute everyone.
Yeah, that's a great strategy.
Like, so, literally, if they're like, even if they're giving advice to me, like good advice, like, hey, maybe next time don't flash into the wall. I'm like, mute everyone, I hate everything. Because, and then I make believe in my mind that anything said after that is good. So like they're saying, hey, great job, way to not land that Nami bubble. You know, you'll get them next time, pal. Like that's what I imagine they say in my mind.
Yeah. Gosu didn't say that though, right?
Oh no.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So for reference, I've never let anything go down because I played with Gosu once. And it was like on one of his like accounts that he just started up, and he was in low elo, and he was climbing like in 24 hours to platinum or something like that. And I played with him on stream. I bug splatted the first part of it, and he was like, "Oh my life, like this bronze elo hell that I'm in." and then I came back and I wrecked it because I'm a master tier Nami. But
it was cool too because Gosu was literally like, "Wow, this Nami's literally better than master tier players."
Hey.
And so that was kind of a nice little thing to boost your ego. But getting back on topic, becoming tilt proof. So would you say that it is better to like mute people at the beginning of the game, just go ahead and mute everybody and like be in your own little bubble of solo queue, or is it better to like wait until someone does do the first little bit of toxicity and just immediately mute them, don't say anything? Or are you a shit talker? Do you prefer to just like type the whole game? How do you guys like to do that?
You go, Mark.
Okay, so for me, I mean, you want to communicate with your teammates.
For sure.
I mean, of course, if the enemy team, starts to shit talk you, I mute them immediately. But if it's a teammate, I want to maintain communication for as long as possible. So as long as I'm not completely tilted, I won't mute them. But
dude, that's what pings are for. Like, thank you, Riot, for making me not have to.
You can mute pings now too, but because pings can also tilt you.
Yeah, they can. You got that one freaking dude who like you die by accident and he gives you 27 question marks. It's like exactly. You fucking dick. Come on, man, it was a mistake.
So I will say this: I typically don't mute everybody unless I feel like I'm going to a bad place. Because ultimately, I want to be focused. So, like, if I'm having a good time, even if they're saying things like, I hope your parents, like, rue the day that you were born or something like that.
I hope
like,
your parents die in a tire fire.
Oh, you. I'm just, oh, you. But, like...
You give them a Brady Bunch response?
Yeah, but if I'm feeling it, though, if I'm, like, having a rough time... Then yeah, I like usually mute the whole chat, including my team.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a bad place. I don't want to continue on with it. But I think like that brings us to the whole point of like toxicity in general. Like I feel like professional and gamers and streamers like kind of glorify it, like running it down mid and stuff. Because it's funny, it's humorous. And I think that because of that, it's made it so that it's harder to realize when to say it and when not to say it. And especially like with the younger generation, they tact is not one of their skills.
No, Lord no, Lord no.
But so with that said, how Mark? Like, can you think of any streamers in particular that you think are big advocates of making their living off of basically like talking trash?
I mean, the first person to come to mind is Tyler One, and like he's gone a long way. He's not very toxic anymore, but his original streams, he would write people's names on a notebook, and he would be like, "If I play with this person ever again, I'm gonna run it down mid, or I'm gonna, make his life a living nightmare." And like a lot of people like that, they take that as entertainment, and they try to imitate him. So they'll go into games playing Draven, and if they don't get a kill, they'll run it down mid, and they'll just kind of imitate him. And I feel like for Tyler One, he's doing it to make a point also to be a dick as well. But I mean, he wants to win. But then I feel like kids take that and they're like, okay, I'm just going to troll other players and make their lives, crap.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing that, like, people in general just like watching that kind of behavior because it's so ridiculous. We love outlandish behavior as people, so that's why that kind of stuff gets so popular. And I'm not gonna lie, I like watching it too. Someone just being absolutely ridiculously trolly. I almost feel bad for the people on the other end, but for myself, I'm like, ha ha, those bitches.
I think like Tyler One and PewDiePie and people that are sensationalists, they're just the new version of shock jocks. Like, they're purely doing it for entertainment. I bet if you met them in person, they wouldn't be that way, But that's like that's how they make money. That's their livelihood, and they know that it's more. It's funnier to say, I'm gonna fill all this booklet with names of people that I'm gonna run it down mid if I ever play with them again, than saying, you know what, they tried their best, maybe next time.
So if you get somebody who is that bad, how do you stay tilt proof against that? Like, talking can be tilting, but what if someone's literally just inting games? Like, you were in the depths of bronze hell, you were grasping at the bottom of each barrel to find whatever leftover turd is down there that you can use to be able to shape into gold and hope that you can come out with a win at some point. Like, how do you manage to stay tilt proof in that event? I don't even know if it's possible, frankly.
I think it's possible. I think you have to mute everyone, and then what I do is I mute everyone, and then I just leave them to their foolish ways.
So like at that point, you just have to take the loss. Just move on. Don't let it affect your future games. Is what I try to do. Yeah, and just take the loss and move on.
Yeah, but I've turned around a lot of games when people are inting.
For sure. You can do that.
Because I think generally most people don't want to spend 40 minutes of their life to just lose. So I think that it might be fun for that one person that's running around being a jackass, but I think everyone else on the team wants to win. And, like, I think if you can move and help someone else get stronger and try to, like, capitalize off of that, then you could turn around a lot of bad situations. I've had people completely leave game, and I've won 4 versus 5 before. It's just more so about taking, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I guess when life gives you tilters, I don't know. Make fakers.
Sure. It was like that 5-man flex that we played last night where our ADC was we were in a 4v5 basically for the first 10 minutes of the game, and we were able to strategize and come back and win from that. Whenever almost all of us were convinced that we were going to lose anyway. So like you could get all games can be turned around. Actually, I wouldn't say all games can be turned around, but almost all games can be turned around. So getting tilted really isn't worth it, because in the end it makes you play bad, and whenever you're in low elo, you have to go under the understanding that you have to carry literally every game in order to be able to win. It's a high likelihood that at least one lane is going to get absolutely creamed. So you have to do your best to make it so that that's not your lane. If that's your lane, just go ahead and understand that the other 3 lanes are screwed. But it's one of those things where whenever you're tilting, it's just if you're 2 or 3 games deep and you've been tilted for the last 2 or 3 games, get up, go walk around, go outside, go do something that isn't playing the game that's just pissing you off and making you hate your life.
Yeah, one of our buddies, Pagan, he usually, like, if he's on a losing streak, he, like, will just shut it off and he won't play.
Yep.
That's smart.
Yep.
Yeah, I think everyone, they react differently to tilting. Some people, they just up and leave and just quit. And then, like, for me, I think I thrive under anger. So whenever, like, someone tries to tilt me, I get angry over it. So, like, it's a double-edged sword, because sometimes I'll just tilt into oblivion. Other times I'll just focus and try to carry the game.
Turns out Mark is a Saiyan.
Mark's what?
Mark's a Saiyan.
You're a Super Saiyan.
Saiyan?
Yeah.
Saiyan?
Yeah. No, Saiyan.
I'm just
like...
saying you're a Saiyan. For sure, yeah.
A little bit of wordplay there.
So, like, with all that said about tilting and toxicity as far as, like, in games itself, I want to touch on abhorrent behavior in esports and gaming as a whole. Now, this isn't necessarily just like on stream, just something to capitalize and make money off of. This is more so like on a professional level. So, for example, Felix Lingil of QXC of Overwatch, he recently was kicked from his Overwatch team, Dallas Fuel, and suspended for a homophobic slur against another player who's openly gay. Now, I read the comment, and, you know, in this day and age, like, you have to be careful with everything that you say, and it was inappropriate. And he has made comments before and done things before that have been kind of over the top. So I think in general, this wasn't just a one-time deal. This was something that he had shown a pattern of and just like a general attitude with. But he did openly apologize, and he said that he wanted to work on things. And actually, one person that reached out to him was Monte Cristo, which I think is pretty cool. And Monte Cristo was like, you know, I think you're a good player. You got to watch what you say, but if you need any help, I want to try to help you out. And so, is there any other abhorrent behavior you can think of within the last few years, Mark?
Oh, absolutely, Vasily, League of Legends. I mean, where do I start? Where do I start? He's causing damage in professional matches. He's abusing, you know, loved ones on stream.
Oh my God! Wait! Hang on. Did you say he's abusing loved ones on stream?
Yeah,
this is something I haven't heard of. Wait, what happened?
Okay, so there is a video of Vasily rage quitting over League of Legends and his girlfriend trying to calm him down. And I mean, you don't actually see him harming her, but you can kind of infer what's happening in the background.
So is it like, like that kind of thing, like a slap followed by a scream? Okay, so what is it?
He went full demon mode, and he literally flips the table and goes.
Oh my gosh!
It is terrible.
Ah, Lord, what a freaking.
To be fair, his girlfriend, or I guess they broke up now, but
I would hope so.
She denies the reports that she was abused, but I mean, judging from the sounds and what you can hear, you know, it's pretty obvious what happened.
Oh my Lord, that is absolute. I mean, if that did happen, we're going under the premise that did happen for a second. Like, what a piece of shit.
I think like regardless of whether or not he actually hit her, he flipped a table with someone nearby. Like,
he's a table flipper.
Unless you're a professional wrestler, like, come on, man, it's a game.
Or you're Boogie2988 on freaking that video of him flipping the table over Magic the Gathering. That's a classic on the internet right there. You could, those are the only two events where that's okay.
Dude, no, Magic the Gathering is brutal, man. I remember going to a tournament and they don't allow drinks on the table. And the guys are pretty strict about it, and I was like, why don't they leave? Why do they make such a big deal about drinks on the table? You know, I just want to drink like a Coke while I play Magic the Gathering.
Hey.
And they made a point of that they have some people have card decks that they've spent hundreds of dollars on.
Yeah.
And one bump on purpose could trash that.
Yeah.
And people are that vindictive to do that.
For sure. So. Absolutely. But that's absolutely insane. I can't believe that that's a thing that even happened. Like, I mean, I guess it's not really all that surprising because once you get into the world of the internet where there's, you know, millions of people streaming themselves on a daily basis and all that shit, like, it's at some point you're going to have that kind of discrepancy. But for somebody to, like, is Vasily, is he a pro player, or is he just a streamer, or who is he?
He was a pro player.
Yeah, so he was a pro player that came over from China to join LMQ in NA, but the team had to kind of shut down, and he actually went back to China. He actually played in LPL.
Yeah.
And I think he was relegated to LSPL, which is like their Challenger series.
Mm-hmm.
And he played a little bit before he, I think he was cut, or either that or they benched him because he wasn't performing. And so, like, he was practicing, and he was just breathing all day. And apparently that was part of the reason why he raged that day, was because he was under so much pressure from his team that he just, like, he just exploded.
I mean, that brings up a huge point right there, is the pressure that these people are like, so there's money involved, right? This is their livelihoods.
It's no longer just gaming.
Yeah, a lot of these kids, like, they don't have degrees completed. Some of them, like in other countries, like, you know, all video games is all that they've done. This is the only thing that they know, really. And so whenever you threaten that livelihood, like, they get desperate. They'll do anything that they want. It affects them, like, their psyche.
For sure.
Which we're going to kind of talk about later. But I want to talk about ELO boosting real quick. Do you think that it is a bannable offense?
I think it absolutely should be a bannable offense. It ruins games for people. I get pissed off when people smurf, man. And it's like, sweet, you came into bronze, you're doing your little thing on freaking Twitch of like, I'm going to platinum one day. So, and it's like, you just wreck a game for a whole group of people who can't do shit about it. It's selfish, and it's a dick move in my eyes.
Smurfing for me has two reasons. One is you've hit a wall and you want to not feel like you suck anymore.
Yeah.
Or two, that you're playing with people that are your friends that are not as good as you.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, so that's the reason why our friends that are Smurf play with us.
I mean, being fair, whenever I first started playing with you guys again, that was like, what, season 6, I think it was, whenever I first came back.
Yeah.
I was trash. I was so goddamn bad at the game. And you guys were like, yeah, just go into top lane. Yeah, no, we'll never gank for you. we'll tell you to teleport to Dragon Pit when there's no reinforcements. You know, we're going to give you, we're going to do all these things. But like, I was honestly thankful that you guys did, because you guys played the game with me, even though y'all were significantly better than I was, and it let me grow as a player. So, I mean, I guess from that perspective, if it's somebody who's really good at the game, I guess it is kind of a jerk thing to say, like, you can only play with other people who are at your skill level because I suck. Yeah. Like, I think that's also selfish, so I appreciate you saying that.
Well, Smurfing's going to be forever there. ELO boosting, though, is a whole nother thing. Like, Zhao Wei Zhao, he was kicked out because, I mean, he was, you know, banned from the game for a bit because of ELO boosting. Which, you know, Mark, for people who don't know what ELO boosting is, please run a definition for them.
Because I have expert knowledge on this. Because I ELO boost. No, I don't.
Yeah. I feel like we've been talking more than you, and you are the Red Raccoon.
ELO boosting is basically, so bad players want to be in high ELO, so they pay professional players or, you know, very high ELO players to basically play on their account until they reach a certain rank. And like a lot of these, like Zhao Wei Zhao, he was being paid, I think, like thousands of dollars just to be boosted, just to boost accounts up to like diamond, which for him would take days, maybe a day. So wow. I mean, it's like, it's easy money on his part, and I can see where he's coming from, but like, as a professional player, you have to kind of set a tone, and, you know, set an example for these other players, which he didn't.
So was he like suspended, or was he banned? What ended up happening to him?
So what happened was he ended up getting banned from NALCS for a couple years, or a couple splits, but he ended up moving back to China, and he was playing in LSPL, the Challenger Series.
Gotcha. Okay, that's...
Yeah, which, you know, I'm not sure how it is done in China, but I bet you he's still ELO boosting. just saying.
Okay, I would. Let's be honest here, guys. Yeah. If you could boost accounts for thousands of dollars per account, and it only took you like a week, wouldn't you do it?
I wouldn't be doing this freaking podcast right now.
I would quit my job.
Oh, man. So with that abhorrent behavior, I guess the main thing that like we can touch on about that is kind of the age divide. So Matt, I think, was the one that was telling me about it, and recently he was watching like something on Aframe, right?
It might have been. I don't remember the specific circumstance, but one thing that I've talked about for a long time is that all of us are like in our mid to late 20s or early 30s, and, you know, somewhere in that area. We're all, you know, a little bit more grown up, if you will, or at least we like to think that we are. And one thing that we tend to forget about is that oftentimes we are playing with kids. Like we're sitting here thinking everybody's adults and trying to treat everybody like adults whenever we're playing with like some 9-year-old who's freaking in Diamond or some shit like that.
I'm so jealous of that 9-year-old. world. What the heck?
Yeah, I know, right? Like he's got them young mechanics, man. I just
his little eyes and his heart beats faster. Like, I just.
But that's a serious problem too, because like younger people in general, like whenever you have rules placed on you, you don't like to follow rules. And on the internet, you don't have to follow rules because mommy's not watching you freaking type shit into league chat. So like you end up becoming so insanely toxic, saying whatever you want to say because you think it's cool that you're finally getting to like express your quote unquote personality, which is complete shit. But the age divide in esports is monstrous. It's absolutely monstrous because you have a lot of people who are older that are also watching these young kids play, and it's it's interesting to them, but at the same time it's easy to lose sight that a lot of the people who are involved in esports in general or playing the games with you, they're kids, they're young, they're super young.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's just because the game is almost 10 years old now, and I forget that I started playing this game when I was, 17, 18?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, those are the kids I'm playing now. Like, they're 17, 18, some are even younger.
Yeah.
And, like, whenever I think of that, I think of the scene in Talladega Nights where the kid's like, come on, jacked up on Mountain Dew. They're just, like, they're playing and they're being super toxic. They're watching Tyler 1.
If you're not first, you're last.
You don't shut up, old man. I'm coming to you like a spider monkey.
Grandpa Chip's war medals over the mountain.
Well, as many commercials for like Monster and stuff. I'm surprised that these kids aren't flipping more tables. But,
you never know. Maybe each modern family has a table flipping budget.
Mom, bring me my monster. You can come get it yourself, you little shit. F you, Mom. We live in a great world.
Let's get back on topic.
So with that said, yeah, so impractical lifestyles, I think, are also something that these professional young esport players live. So they're yanked out of their homes. They're put in a house with other young people. They usually do have a pretty good support staff as far as coaches and stuff. And I feel for the coaches because I feel like they have their job for them. A lot of these coaches are like our age.
Yeah.
They're professional players that realize, I'm not like as quick with my like abilities and stuff. I can't hit the F as fast as I used to be able to do. So they've transitioned into more of like a wise mentor approach.
Yeah.
And they have all these kids that are just being kids. Yeah. And they're trying to win with them. And so I think a lot of times, like anybody that's in entertainment, they're surrounded by people that love and are endeared to them that they don't even know. Like these strangers come up to them and they say, I want to have your baby and stuff like that, and you're like an 18-year-old kid. You're like, yeah, I want you to have a baby too. So,
I feel like that's a really good point because like a lot of these kids, they're what's the word for it? They're
impressionable.
They're like shy. They're like introverted. That's the word I'm trying to look for.
Yeah.
And so I mean they stay home, they play video games, and of course this doesn't apply to every single player, but they eventually get good enough to get picked up by a team. And I mean they're super shy and not outgoing, and out of nowhere they're getting approached by strangers, and it just makes them feel awkward.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, imagine if you had just like been playing games for the last 10 years, and next thing you know, people are coming up to you, recognizing you because you play games. That's got to be a surreal feeling in general. Yeah. Like that goes for streamers, YouTubers. That goes for anybody who's in media that has not really ever had any level of fame before. That's got to be just like absolutely mind-blowing whenever someone walks up to you, a stranger, and recognizes you based off something that you've recently been involved in.
Yeah, and this yes mentality that people have for people that are in entertainment, like they just tell them, yeah, sure, about anything you ask. Hey, can I have a llama? Yeah, sure. Like, cool, I want a llama today.
But the llama doesn't have a scarf.
They get a lot of things that they want, and some of these young people, they haven't like bounced checkbooks. They have no idea how to do like finance or like they're basically living in the moment.
And a lot of this stuff is being done for them too, because they're the people who are, you know, over them, if you will, that are the team owners and whatnot. They want them to perform. They want them to do well because it has become about money. Esports isn't just about gaming; it's about money as well. So they want their investments to perform. So they're gonna do a lot of stuff for them or give them coaching, but really just guide them on how to do all these things. So it's, you know, it's a double-edged sword. Hopefully it helps them, but I feel like for a lot of them it may end up hindering them, because once they get thrown into the real world where there's taxes and all this crazy shit that nobody tells you how to handle, it's gonna be a difficult transition.
Yeah, what do you think can curb the tide of this like abhorrent behavior, this toxicity, at least on maybe a professional level of gaming? What do you think can be done, Mark?
Wait, what was the question again?
I said, how do you think that they can like make how things can be made change? How change can be made in a good way to curb like this like toxic tide that's kind of ran over video games and esports as a whole?
I feel like coaching really helps, especially for like the professional players, where they're they might be toxic or something, or they might be setting a bad example on streams. I feel like coaching really helps out if they kind of teach them how to act and, you know, how to present themselves.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I think that like normal sports, if you will, does really well is like in football they have things where like if you over celebrate whenever you get a touchdown, they have like penalties and stuff like that. So maybe penalties that can happen whenever they're, you know, toxic and all that stuff. But like I don't think that kind of thing really ends up happening during a match. But it's hard to police people whenever they're living their daily lives, whenever they're just doing their own thing. It's hard to police that kind of behavior. And I don't think that you can really stop people from being who they are. If someone's just a shit stain of a human, they're a shit stain of a human. I mean, it's just, you can't fix that. They may be good at playing League, but they may also just be a piece of shit. It's possible.
Oh, Matt. Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that one thing is that you both have mentioned is mentors. Mentors is key. And when you talk about certain mentors, like Monte Cristo, reaching out to QXC, super awesome. He's a shoutcaster. He's someone respected in the field. He reaches out to someone that's hurting, that's already been banned, and said, look, man, you did something wrong, but I think you're good. You can come back from this. Yeah. If you need me, let me know. Yeah. I think that's I think a support staff, like a support structure is needed for these. And with that said, like, have you guys known much about like sports psychologists? Have you heard about that?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing. So, like, what are they doing? I mean, in coaching, obviously, but, like, is that what they're trying to do, is, like, discern esport behaviors and try to unravel them? Like, what are they doing?
So, it's really cool, actually, because I was reading up on this week, and I'd already known that it happened, but Curse, which is Team Liquid now, but Curse were the first ones to bring like a sports psychologist into the mix, as far as I know. And they brought in this person that like just worried about nothing but the well-being of the mind of the players. And then I think TSM adopted it afterwards. And then in other games like CSGO, for example, there's a woman named Mia Stelberg. And she helped the popular team Censorless. They're a CSGO team that they were basically like in a rough time. They were like on top. They were a great team, and then they were hit this huge losing streak, and they were just getting reamed out on social media. They were getting, you know, death threats and people like constantly calling them garbage. You know, all these people that had once said, "I want to have your baby," are now saying like, "I want to kill your baby."
Oh God! Oh God! Jesus
like,
Christ.
It's just, man, I don't know. Maybe you guys need to muzzle me some. But the bottom line that I'm saying here is that they were in a bad place. So she stepped in, and she was integral in them basically like being able to turn a losing streak and turning an era of like horridness for their life into a win in a tournament that was elusive to them. So another one is Weldon Green. Weldon Green has been pushing sports psychology for a long time, and he was just talking about like the pressure of competition that these kids face all the time.
For sure. So do you think that goes hand in hand with like teams implementing social media blackouts where like they're not allowed to get on social media after on a losing streak or that kind of thing? I remember you were telling me about that earlier. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, social media blackouts, very, very important because think about it. You just had a rough match. You're worried, so you're on a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Your coach has been like, you got to perform better. We got someone on the bench that's waiting to take your place.
Yeah.
You sit down. You practice for hours. You sit down at your table. You look at your screen. You're like, oh, man, I'm just gonna check my Twitter feed real quick. And then you see things like
bad idea.
And then you see things like, oh, you're the worst ever. Hey, why don't you like sell your computer and buy a box to live in, you hobo?
Nice flash, kill yourself.
Right, like you constantly get reamed out by people.
Yeah.
And some teams are worse than others. I actually feel really bad for TSM right now.
Yeah.
Reading their Twitter feed has been insanely horrible. At least like I feel like when Cloud9 has lost, like for some reason their fans are like, it's okay, we still support you, good job. When TSM loses, they're like, fire Reginald.
Yeah.
Bring back
the owner.
Bring back Tyrus. Kill Bjergsen. You know, like it's been horrible the things that they've gone through. So yeah, social media blackouts I think are super important whenever a team's on the losing streak.
How do you feel about that, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole thing about the social media blackout is all about drowning out the negativity and just sort of thinking positive. And I feel like a lot of these like psychology, I don't know, or psychologists, they come into teams and they just sort of teach them how to win, basically.
Yeah.
And like going back to Weldon, there's like this legend around him where like every team he goes to, they start showing results.
Mm-hmm.
I think he goes to Team Liquid. Was it Team Liquid at first? I forget.
No,
but
I think TSM was like one that used him a lot.
Yeah, TSM hired him as a coach, but then like when they had that split where they had Yellow Star on the team and they were, I think, the 6th place team and they were doing terrible. They just weren't a very good team, but then they got Weldon and he turned around the season.
I mean, what's changed,
head
Mark?
coach.
What's changed? How TSM's still bad?
Wow. Well, they went from 6th place to winners the next.
I'm just kidding.
Jesus, the tilt.
Poor Reginald. I'm secretly a Reggie fan, but
I think you.
So, have you guys ever heard about what like Korea does?
No, what is it they do?
So they do like dating bans.
What?
They say unless you won worlds, you can't date.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
My Lord, forcing abstinence in order to have a video game win.
No girlfriends unless you win worlds.
So, like, what if they already have a girlfriend? Do they have to break up with them?
You know, I guess maybe it's
No,
not
you
like
gotta go to China.
Oh my God.
The funniest thing about the whole like Korea versus China thing is like Korea is like this sort of military approach to the game where you wake up, you eat, you play, and that's it. You go over, you play the game, and you think about the game. Whereas in China, I feel like there's this whole legend of them like going over there. They're swimming in cash. By the way, they're wearing like they're wearing like the finest silk like suits, and they just have women all around them, and it's just hilarious to think about.
It might be the reason why China hasn't done that well lately.
Getting paid big time.
Korea's just like, we must cock block our players.
Yeah, we want to win.
Well, so why do the Danes do so well? Is it just so cold that they can't get out? And like, I don't know if it's cold in, like where the Danes come from, but in Europe, like the Danes are the best.
Jeez, I don't know. Maybe it rains a lot. Maybe everything just sucks
indoors.
there. You know.
Yeah, but that kind of blew my mind. Like that's like in K-pop culture as well. Like if you're a professional pop star, like you have a dating ban too. It's
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's pretty funny, man. I think that's a double-edged sword though. I think that if people get too into the game all the time, then that can hurt their psyche as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless you're named Faker.
Unless you're Faker, because he lives and breathes the game.
Yeah, exactly.
But
He loves the game.
Put some bad people on his team, and you know.
Isn't he having to like basically completely carry his whole team right now or something?
Let's just say that it's not a bang of success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
I know. See, you got to watch more VODs. Okay. All right, but so Rick Fox and Echo Fox. I think this is important to bring up. Rick Fox, you know, a professional sports player, came in, owner of Echo Fox, and he has made a team of toxic players. He has made a team of historically people that have been known to not work well with others.
So he started a rehabilitation clinic.
Yeah, exactly. And but I've watched some videos with them and stuff, and I've watched DEgITx like talk about them, and basically they kind of joke around about it. They're like, yeah, everyone thinks that we're like, you know, but actually everyone thinks that we're so bad, but actually like the atmosphere has been really cool. And I think that has to do with Rick Fox and the coaching staff that he's put into place, because he has come from a field that's already dealt with that. I mean, there's huge egos in like the NBA and the NFL and stuff. There's people all the time that they have to deal with, and you're blending personalities of typically like alpha males together. Yeah. And so he understands how to do it, which I think is something that has lacked in esports, because this is really the first time that this has ever been done. That's
really super interesting. I just can't imagine how that is an easy thing. That person has to have the patience of a saint to take a bunch of people who are like clinically toxic and just being like, all right, all of you guys mesh well together. Let's figure this out. Work out your differences. Talk it out.
And I think this is coming from Rick Fox, who played on the Lakers with at the time Shaq and Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
Who were like the two alpha males of the NBA at the time, and like I feel like he knows how to deal with like having a couple alpha males, because look on the team he has Huni and DEgITx, who I think are the two like
vocal, if nothing else,
the vocal leaders of the team. Yeah.
Maybe, like you said, he played basketball, so I assume he's tall. Maybe he just towers over everybody.
Posing presence.
Yeah. And he's just, like, physically larger than all of them, so he's like, sit the fuck down!
That always works on me, Matt. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
No, I think, so I did watch an interview with DEgITx, and the gist that I got from it was that he said that basically Rick Fox is like this is a job, you're paid to do it, like this is your opportunity, because he's been on many teams and teams keep passing him around. I feel like this is his kind of last chance.
Yeah.
And so I think Rick Fox and the support staff that he has there just made it pretty clear, like, look, you know, we want you here. We know you're a great player, but you got to get along with people, man.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you know, most of those people, they don't have any other skills other than the video games that they've been honing in on. So maybe they realize too, he's appealing to their reason that they're just like, hey, you can either do this, have this opportunity, or you can completely fuck it up and go flip burgers. That sounds great too, right?
Right. Health coaches too. Mark, do you know anything about the difference of health? Do you remember Velocity? Team Velocity?
Don't enlighten me.
Oh, no, not Velocity. Gosh, what was that team that had Red Rose?
I think it was Velocity.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So those guys looked like 1970s typical D&D players.
So they were a series of neckbeards.
Yeah, like with holes in their clothes and stuff, you know.
Fedora.
Food stains on their pants.
Frequently say my lady.
Yeah. and now you have people like freaking Haunter, you know, who looks like Adonis. And I'm not attracted to Haunter, by the way. But, you know, if I was, he's pretty good looking.
Sure.
For a dude.
So, but like, I mean, that makes sense though. They're implementing health coaches into these teams so that those people can be in good health whenever they're trying to perform. Because like, if you're a big fat lazy slob, I can only imagine that your reaction times and other things are going to be clouded by the terrible food that you're putting in your body and the lack of exercise that you're getting. I mean, shit, one of the best ways to improve your performance in anything is go get some exercise right quick to get your cardiovascular system up and running, and then your brain operates better. You have more air going through your lungs and oxygen flow into your brain. I mean, your blood flow into your brain. So I mean, it makes sense that they would have health coaches to try and improve that kind of situation, because otherwise you just have a bunch of fat lazy slobs that, you know, are pretty good at the game. Why not make them better at the game?
Yeah, I think
that's an interesting point, because like if you look at the players nowadays, they don't fit into the criteria of like he has like a bunch of zits on his face, he's like overweight. They seem to be pretty fit, and like if you look at players like Hanser and Doublelift, they go to the gym daily and they're still performing at the highest level.
Yeah,
which tells me another thing is that teams actually are starting to care about their investments.
Yeah.
Whereas it was just throwing a bunch of people together, buying them a house, and say, "Hey, win tournaments for us." Now it's like, man, we need to worry about these kids' minds. We need to worry about these kids' like attitudes and their health, because ultimately you want to have a good brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with kind of speaking to that, you know, it reminds me of Travis, that is the guy who runs State of the League. And how he aided Doublelift back in the day on how to manage your money and how to basically be an adult, because Doublelift was kind of had a strange relationship with his family and was kind of kicked out of his house for a time being, and lived in Travis's house. So yeah, I think it's cool how people are starting to care about the players, and they're not just commodities. They're actual human beings.
As a counter argument to that for a moment, could one argue that the only reason that they're treating them as human beings is the fact that they are an investment? Like, if, you know, say for a second that somebody, you know, say a team implements a health thing that they're going to do. Well, couldn't it be argued that the only reason they're implementing that is because that team will be more likely to win a game, which nets more money for the company? You know, it's that, to me, that's like a double-edged sword, if you will, just because while it seems like a nice thing, it could also be selfish in its intent because they want to make money. I mean, it's as simple as that. Almost everything is motivated by money. Most of people who do anything they're motivated by something, and a lot of times it's money. So I mean, it could be argued that there's a possibility that's in there as well.
I absolutely agree, but I think it goes hand in hand. Like, we want to protect our investments, but at the same time we want to make our money. Yeah. So that's why we're, you know, giving them all of the resources they need to be able to perform at the highest level to make them money. And I think it helps both parties.
Yeah, I don't see it as a bad thing if that is one of the focuses, as long as they're not excluding each other. Yeah. Like, just because you want to make your investment better, you can also kind of care about your investment because they're humans. Yeah. You know, you can't just be like, the only reason why I'm doing this, by the way, is because you need to make me money.
Yeah. I wonder if these teams are going to start implementing pensions.
Well, you can already see it in some organizations, how they have taken players that were basically falling off or not performing as well, and finding places for them. So I feel like it's more so that they do care about these kids. They do care about these people that are playing. High is a big example of that. Yeah. He was like a huge integral part of Cloud9, and then he started performing badly, or like he was perceived as performing badly, and Jack, the owner of Cloud9, still kept him around and still like found something for him to do, because he cared about him. Yeah, you know,
absolutely. So I read something not too long ago about a tragedy that had befallen Doublelift. So do you guys know what happened? I didn't have a chance to read the whole article. What happened?
Yeah, so unfortunately over the weekend, Easter weekend, it was reported that Doublelift's brother had attacked his parents after an argument. And it is confirmed that his mother had died, but then his dad is still in critical condition in the hospital.
That's terrible.
And yeah, as of now, his brother has been arrested and his dad is still in the hospital.
Do they know like any motivation or anything like that, or?
I don't know the details of it, but then his brother had broken up with his girlfriend, and his parents had come to kind of console him, and then something happened, and I'm not sure what the details are.
That is absolutely crazy. I can't imagine what that's like going through something like that. Hopefully he's getting good, community support and all that stuff. Hopefully, despite us living in a toxic world with toxic everything, hopefully he's had some good community outreach.
So when I first heard about it, and I check Twitter very, very often because that's the main way that these guys like communicate.
Yeah.
But whenever I checked Twitter, a lot of the community was being pretty supportive, but there were definitely like some people that would get on and say horrid things,
of course,
that weren't like Doublelift fans. But for the most part, I think the organization, and I think Riot as a whole, has tried to kind of shelter him during this time and support him, which is really cool.
Yeah.
He's playing, by the way, in this weekend.
Oh God,
yeah.
Dude. Imagine you gotta have a mind of steel for that kind of thing to happen, and then you just still go and perform competitively in something extraordinarily stressful in its own right. So, hats off to that guy for being able to handle that level of stress. That's incredible.
Yeah, but I think he has a good amount of people around him that are genuinely care about his feelings and stuff. But yeah, our hearts definitely go out with Doublelift, and for the tragic loss of his mother. And it has to be devastating for him to also like have his brother do that, because he was close with his brother was supported him.
Absolutely.
So I mean, anyway, but speaking of, I guess we'll maybe go to a little bit more of a positive light.
Yeah.
And that is the LCS final this weekend. 100 Thieves TL. First time that one of the old guard hasn't made it into the playoffs. This means that a new king is going to be crowned.
Yeah, and I'm super excited about this game, just because there was a very interesting comment on Reddit where it was comparing the two rosters. And it was saying how on both teams there's a Korean top laner who's been at the top but then haven't found much success after leaving their Korean teams. So in the jungle you have two kind of old guard players who are very solid still, who are like kind of trying to prove who's better. Same thing for the mid lane. Two solid mid laners are playing against each other, but then we want the bottom lane because they called it wife swapping. Used to be on the same team, and then Cody's son and Ole used to be on the same team, but they swapped since. Jeez. So it's gonna be a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, and so like breaking down just player to player. Okay, we'll start in the top lane. Mark, your thoughts on the top lane.
Ooh, so top lane. I think Someday has the edge over Impact, but not so much that he'll impact the game. I think Impact is good enough. No pun intended. Impact is good enough to hold his own against Someday, but Someday is definitely the better top laner.
I think Impact comes out during tournaments too. I think he whenever there's lights shining on him in a major arena, I think he like puts on his game face and like goes hard. All right, the jungle.
So jungle, we have Meteos versus Xmithy. Now this is interesting because I feel like Xmithy has always been like a top 3 jungler in NA, but he's never got the recognition. Whereas Meteos, he was for like 2 splits, or 2 years rather, he was the very best jungler in NA, and now he's sort of viewed as an average jungler. So like I think both junglers are trying to prove something, like we're better than each other.
Right.
And for this one, I think Xmithy comes out on top. He's the more consistent jungler.
Right. What about mid lane?
Anyone want to take mid lane?
Yeah, I'll take mid lane. So, well, how about I take bottom lane? Bottom lane's more fun. So,
okay, so
I think
mid lane is, I believe, Phoenix versus Pobelter.
Yeah, it's Phoenix. I just wanted to take bottom lane because it's more fun, but I can talk about mid lane. It's whatever. So I'm gonna give this to Pobelter for sure. And the reason why I give it to Pobelter is because he just deserves it, dude. He just needs it. And I think like Pobelter has been more consistent. He's always been a top player, but he's always just very, very consistent. Whereas Phoenix has had his up and down moments, you know.
Yeah, I think Phoenix, it has the higher ceiling, but then the lower floor, and then Pobelter is just a very consistent player. Yeah, he might be the best mid laner NA has ever produced domestically.
Then bottom lane, and this is where my heart is in a quandary, okay? Because I wanted 100 Thieves to win from the very moment that Nadeshot formed the team. And then as he handpicked his team, these are all players that I've really, really enjoyed watching, with the exception of Cody's son. Sorry, Cody's son. but I mean, I know that Cody's son's a good player. He's just not an exciting player for me. But I really want Nadeshot to win this. I really wanted 100 Thieves to make it. But then the whole reason why I would root for TL at all is because of Doublelift and TL. TL has never won one. They've been so close. And then Doublelift, I feel like this would just be an amazing narrative if he won this after what happened.
Absolutely.
It's like an anime moment, really. His parents, his mom dies a week earlier. He wins the next week. This will be his fourth. If he wins this, it will be his fourth title with 3 different teams. Yep. That's insane.
All right, so hey, let's do predictions real quick before we go. So what team are you rooting for, Mark?
So I'm gonna pick TL to win 3-1.
Okay. All right.
I can't be that specific, but I'm gonna pick Team Liquid to win.
Oh, I pick it. You know what? I'm picking TL too.
Because, you hear, folks.
Yeah. I think that they're gonna win. I think that it's going to be close, though. I don't think it's going to be a 3-1 game. I think it's going to be like 3-2.
Do you think it's going to be super close?
I think they're going to go 5 games.
It's going to be silver scrapes.
Yeah, I think they're going to go 5 games for sure. But I think 100 Thieves are probably going to take it early, and I think Team Liquid's going to bounce back. So with that said, let's wrap up the podcast, everybody. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing to our weekly VODs. We're going to keep them up for you. We're going to post these for you. And we also want you to check out our merchandising store, ogretribe.com. It's important to us that we build a gaming community of really awesome gamers. And so we just... Anyway, Matt,
you never know. We may have the next pro team.
Yeah. Hey, let's do it. Let's do it, kids.
That's a big goal.
Bronze Diary.
Little bit ogre.
Yeah, we have the next bronze team coming up, guys. The next bronze team is going to be great.
All right, so
it's your flex team.
You guys have any shout outs? Anybody you want to say hey to?
I'll give a shout out to my cold pack because it's very comfortable.
I'm going to give out a shout out to
nice
Toast. Toast for always trolling me and keeping me humble. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Toast. And to Jackie for saying that she was going to watch her VOD and she never does.
Yeah.
Exposed.
So with that said, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.